guys are all here for self-care for nurses, right?
Yes.
Excellent. No basket weaving? Good, because there's none here. No basket weaving, but there are demos for the bed. We're not doing demos for the bed right now. Although that would be part of self-care, wouldn't it? Getting some good sleep.
I was going to say, if we could lay in it, yeah.
My name is Amanda Fay, and I am the onboarding educator for Dartmouth Hitchcock, and you are here at the Dartmouth Hitchcock booth. Now, I want to introduce you to my buddy, Barbara Wave. Barbara Wave. That's my buddy. So, Barbara is the person, if you are looking for any sort of you're curious about positions at Dartmouth Hitchcock, Barbara's the person to go to. All right? Now, that being said, any good workshop, right? I need to go over objectives. But before I go over the objectives, I need to give a disclaimer. Because in order for you to get CEs, I need to disclaim, I need to reveal things. I'm an Aquarius. I like long walks. No, that's not.
Not those things.
That's all right. So I have no financial gain in this talk. All of this. So, that being said, I told you no financial gain. I'm not recording you and selling it on the self-care for nurses black market. Although if you do want to see my website, it's No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a website. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how do you take care of yourself. Now, I am a truth teller. I am going to tell you the truth. I've been a nurse for a long time. And as a nurse, I know the joy that it brings. I know the sorrow, right? Because in each one of the talks, I always say, nurses are ninjas, right? We're ninjas. We enter into someone's story mid-chapter. We're like, hello. Whatever you need, I am you. I am for you. Right? Nothing. We usually can't even bring anything of ourselves in. Because we have to be there for that person. And that's hard for us. Now that's where that self-care comes in. Because what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about compassion fatigue. We're going to talk about burnout. Now before I talk about that, you need to sign in. To get the CEs, I need you to sign in and sign in legibly. Because I need to be able to read your email. Actually, I don't need to read it. My buddy needs to read it. So that way she can send you the link for the CEs. So you write down your email address, your name, social security number, your
Social security number.
You guys are like,
you're getting too personal.
No. Just your email address. So that way Judy can send you a link. So you're going to get a link from Judy Langhans. And then that way you can fill out the evaluation and get the CEs for this class. So we're going to talk about what is self-care. How do you react to stress? Understanding, creating an awareness to how you react to stress and what you can do to be able to be proactive and take that power back. Because we're also going to talk about your amygdala and what that does. Then we're going to overview some practical strategies for self-care. All right? So what is self-care? I know.
Brush your teeth.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So when you think about self-care, right? It's
Hygiene.
Obviously we
hygiene.
don't know. We're sitting here, so obviously we don't know. Self-care's
Coffee. Usually nurses
Go to the
are like,
bathroom.
Go to the bathroom.
well, you know what's so funny? It's usually coffee, and then if you absolutely cannot wait any longer, then it's the bathroom, right? How many of you don't brush your teeth? Good, yeah, usually. You know, people are like, do you not brush your teeth? How many of you don't take showers? Here's the movie. Right? We take care of our physical bodies. Now, self-care are long-term and short-term activities where we can take care of our physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental health. There, I got 4? All right. Because what do we usually take care of? Barely.
Your body.
Our physical body. Just enough so we don't offend other people when we go into work, right? And when we sit down to report, we want other people to go, Dove, right? Just enough so we don't offend other people. How many of you have said, I just need to do one more thing and then I'll go to the bathroom? Right? One more thing. And then what happens is there's into 2 more things.
Continue.
And then 3 more things. And then you're like this. And then you run into someone as you're going to the bathroom, and they're like, you wouldn't believe what happened. You're like, don't make me laugh or cough or sneeze. Oh, it's too late. Right? How many people have been there? Or how many people have watched their buddy go like this? You're like, dude, you should have gone a long time ago. And that's part of self-care too, is how we look out for each other. How many of you have skipped a meal because you need to take care of someone? You're like, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice myself. It's okay. I'm gonna skip that meal. Right? So what would you call someone who didn't eat for 12 hours?
Hungry.
Hungry. Hypoglycemic.
Probably hangry.
Hangry. Have you ever seen, right? You've seen someone who hasn't eaten for 12 hours?
Yes.
What?
It's in the dictionary now.
That is awesome. And does it have my face?
No, the definition is a nerve.
Because it's a real thing. And you know what's so funny? As nurses, if we were to look at someone who hasn't eaten for 12 hours, we're like, you're hypoglycemic and you're presenting with mood changes due to your hypoglycemia. And other people were like, dude, you're hangry. Why are you hangry? Because you haven't eaten in 12 hours. So would you want someone to draw up meds, to calculate doses, who hasn't eaten for 12 hours? Yeah, that looks good. No. But we do that to ourselves, right? We do that to ourselves every day. So the first challenge for you is when you need to pee. At this point, my last one, this lady goes, that's it, I gotta go. And I was like, woo, good for you. Just come back. You need to pee. You need to eat. And in people, how do we look out for each other? We cannot survive without each other. So if Amanda and I are working together, the first thing I ask Amanda is, did you pee? Amanda's be like, out of my pee-pee business. I'd be like, no, dude, you gotta go. I'm looking out for you. I want you to remind me that I need to pee because I don't want to invest in poise. Right? Lori, you almost spit all over me. You don't. Unless you're like, you know what? I think that's a sound investment. There are a lot of nurses. Bladder stretch injuries are in their future. And I really think that PP pads are the way to invest. We know as nurses, we know bladder stretch injuries, right? What happens? Your bladder does not recover. And then when you cough, you sneeze, you laugh, stress incontinence. Yes, exactly. Dude.
Really?
Yes.
That's his blood.
Nurses.
Holy matrimony.
Yep. And so that's, dude, it is a thing. My mom, you'd think my mom is a nurse, and you'd think I would have known better, right? because she's a nurse. I heard a lot of nursing stories growing up, a lot of conversations at the table regarding bodily fluids. I should have, but there was something that I know I should have. She asked me, she goes, "What are you doing?" Well, first I was an English major, and then something pulled me back. Why? Stories.
Yep.
People. I mean, you can't, in books, the characters are static. In real life, we get to be there for someone and interact with them at the time that they are most vulnerable and have that impact. Now, like I said, that does take a toll because sometimes we self-sacrifice, right? We give. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue. That is giving until you can't give anymore. Have you ever felt like that? You're like, and I've got to give more, and I'm going to give a little bit more, and I'm going to give a little bit more, and then suddenly, have any of you experienced mood changes, irritability? Right? If someone says something, and you're like, whoa, and you're like, yes, coffee would be great. Mood changes. You start to get sick. You're like, oh my God, a shift. I have a shift in 3 more days. You become quiet, withdrawn. You start thinking about, how many people have experienced that? Yes.
True story.
Oh my God. This is very personal for me because I have experienced compassion fatigue. I have experienced burnout. And it hurts. Now, 70% of our new grads don't stay in nursing because of burnout and the inability, or they don't feel they can take care of themselves. Now, also, mood swings. You start getting sick. You're like, why am I getting sick all the time? Yes, I deal with sick people, but I shouldn't be getting sick. It's because you're giving and giving and giving, and you're not giving yourself back. You're not taking care of yourself. Have you ever wanted to get into an accident on the way to work? Just a small one.
Just enough.
Right? You're like, I'm hoping to break my ankle and possibly damage my car so the insurance company says it's not drivable. So you don't have to go.
Depends on that one.
Dude, so they still call me like, are you coming in? Now, when I talk about that, and in other forums, I'm like, have you experienced that? I've had people go, I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only person who thought about that. And you're not. You're not alone. You're not crazy, right? Because someone was like, I just thought I was crazy. Like, no, you are suffering from compassion fatigue and burnout. So, how do you prevent that? Well, when we go into nursing, we're stripped of everything, aren't we? How many of you have gone into, you're going through school, and if you were part of sports, they're like, quit sports. Right? Because you have to become consumed, because it's hard. You study. How many of you pooped with a book? Because you want to maximize all your time. You're like, this is wasted time.
I'm just sitting here.
Right? I'm just sitting here. I could be reading a chapter or two, or making flashcards. Ed collects questions. I'm thinking about getting a desk in here. Wasted time, right? So as a nurse, we are all consumed by our profession. Now, when I graduated from nursing school, I am proud to be a nurse. It is part of every cell of my being. It is my passion. but I am also something else. I am a poet, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, I'm a humanitarian, I'm a humorist, I'm goofy, I'm awkward, I'm creative, I am all these other things. But when I went into nursing, I thought I couldn't be anything else. So when I graduated, people would say, so what do you do? I'm a nurse. What are your hobbies? Nursing. You're like, I didn't know that was a hobby. Oh, it is. What do you read? Nursing journals. Right? Because now that the books I'm like, really? Now that the books are gone, right? What do I have time for? I'm pooping all by myself. Unless you have kids and a dog. Another, right? And you're like, I never poop alone. So, dude. So, I realized I gave everything and I lost a bit of who I am. So I kept giving and giving and giving, and then I couldn't give anymore. So my husband and I were married for about 6.5 years. About that. And I looked at him and I went, I can't give anymore, so you're out. And he's like, and I was like, dude, I can't. I had a kid. I said, I got to care for the kid. And I said, I'm really sorry. It's been swell. And he's like, so I had to, because I was at that point. I couldn't care. I couldn't give. I was done. I also left my job for a little while because I was a safety risk. Because when you have compassion fatigue and you're suffering from burnout, you underestimate, like when someone says they're in pain, you're like, really?
You don't know pain.
I saw you laugh, sort of. You know what I mean? You ever feel that way? Patient's like, I'm in pain. That's a part of compassion fatigue, is that judgment. Also, I couldn't function because 1 out of 4 of us suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, either from emotional, sexual, physical trauma. And when we think about that, that's a lot of us. And when 1 out of 4, if you are a sufferer from post-traumatic stress disorder, you view the world really different. You are hypersensitive. Your amygdala is going like crazy. And I'm going to talk about the little nut. I love that amygdala. But sometimes it controls us. And we need to take that power back from amygdala and say, thank you for looking out for me. 10 minutes ago. So why do I share this story with you? I go to workshops and I hear, people, the theory behind self-care is it helps to reduce retention, right? It increases retention and it's real. And I share my story so that way you can feel that. So what did I do? Mindfulness. I started to understand how I reacted to stress. Now, this is where our little nut comes from. I know. This is the brain. If any of you are curious, you're like, what is that? It is not a jellyfish. So here's your brain. Josh is like, ah. And here's your amygdala, right? Your big, fabulous brain. And this little nut in the middle of it is your amygdala. Now your amygdala fires continuously. Safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe. It is continuously evaluating your environment, which is great. You don't even know it. Now, all of us react to stress in one of three ways, or a combination of ways. How many of you, when stress enters your sphere, you react, you're a fighter? Either you go into it physically, you're like, bring it home, or you go like this. Right? I mean, you verbally attack it until it goes, ah, and it goes away. Right? So, if that, who's a fighter here? I'm a fighter. We're going to talk about there's a way that your body reacts so that way you can become aware of when your amygdala is triggered. If you're a fighter, your amygdala is triggered. Now, how many of you run? Stress comes and you're like, I'm out. Yeah. So your brain, your amygdala is triggered and your brain reacts. And also there are different things in your body. How many of you are freezers? You're pausers. Stress comes in, you go like this. Until the conflict goes away, and then you're like, what's for lunch? Right? So, if you're a fighter, your brain, your amygdala is triggered. Your brain, your frontal lobe shuts, goes to sleep, because it's allowing the amygdala to take over. When your frontal lobe goes to sleep, you see nothing. You're like, and you're going right for it because you're trying to eliminate whatever is causing that stress. If you're a fleer, if you run, what happens, your brain, so your frontal lobe goes, you're thinking with your amygdala, it's reacting, your brain overwhelms you with this compulsion. It says, danger, you left Fluffy out in the cold and she may die. And you're like, Fluffy may die. Fluffy may die. And that's all that goes through your brain is this overwhelming thing, whatever it is. I left the stove on. The coffee pot's on. And it's not even logical, but your brain is trying to save you. You guys know? And you're like, must go, right? And so you're like, because if your brain just said, run, you'd be like, that's weird. No, your brain tricks you. If you're a freezer, same thing, frontal lobe goes to sleep, and you go, your brain just, and either you do this, so some people are like, I don't look down. I've actually seen nurses at a nursing station, physician comes in really angry, all the nurses around me go like this, and I'm like, all right. So, bring it on. So when you are a freezer, you may stare. It's not just looking down. You stare at a single point until it goes away, until you're safe again. Now I need you to guys, I'm challenging you. Think about when conflict enters your life. How does your body respond? Because your body responds before, like, either you run from the room or you find yourself verbally attacking someone, right? Or you're like, so think about, I need you guys to think about how your body responds. Because once you're able to do that, you're able to go, because as a fighter, my body goes like this. I do this head tilt, and I know I get this gleam in my eye, and I'm like, someone's losing a pound of flesh, I don't know if it's gonna be me, right? And my brain shuts off. But I've learned enough about myself, my husband's learned enough about me, that he's like, you've tilted your head. And I'm like, oh, and he says, take a nice deep breath. Because sometimes you need a buddy to help you with this. Yeah? So he says, take a nice deep breath. I take a nice deep breath. And then I'm able to think with my frontal lobe. I am now me again. Not what my amygdala has determined how I need to be safe. what our coping mechanisms are. We developed them in our childhood for survival. They have served us in the past, but they don't serve us now. So to become, right? Have you ever said something to someone and then you're like, oh, that wasn't good, right? Because you reacted. Take a nice deep breath. Then you won't be as regretful. So one of the other things, now being aware of how you react to stress. If you are aware of this, if you take a nice deep breath, if you breathe, that sounds crazy. I breathe all the time. Actually, when you're under stress, you like, or you go like this, right? If you cognitively take a nice deep breath in, you break that stress cycle and you begin thinking with your frontal lobe. Now, why is the stress cycle important? You become you again. You become you. You're taking that power back and you're able to act in the world the way you want to, not react. Now, why is the stress cycle big? If you don't break the stress cycle, your cortisol is going to increase. Your blood pressure is going to increase. And you're going to suffer from physical manifestations of stress. Now, let's do some practical, right? So I told you I'm a fighter. I've had to be a fighter. So growing up, I grew up in a very physical environment. I had to fight to protect myself. So that's hard. So you have to be very mindful. So I'm very mindful of what my body does, of how I'm reacting to stress, what my heart's doing, and then I become mindful. Now, how do I become practically mindful? I rub my hands together. Now, everybody, rub your hands together. Feel your palm against your palm. Just that skin, that sensation. What happens is when you do that, your focus is now here. And it gets you, and it helps to break that stress cycle as well. Because you focus and then you breathe. Because a lot of times I go to workshops and they're like, and then you go like this and you go, Mom, how many of you have time to go, hold on, right? I need it. Yeah. No. Right? We just talked about it. You don't have time to pee or eat. So, practical mindfulness.
Also, it doesn't look weird because we're nurses.
Exactly.
Washing your hands.
Yeah, it totally doesn't look weird because it's like someone, alcohol swab. Yeah, hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Also, what I love doing is I'm washing my hands really, really long. Right? Because I need that moment. Now, when you focus, your blood pressure decreases. I talked about the stress cycle is broken. Also, another practical mindfulness, or another strategy. Compassion. Compassion for yourself. Compassion for other people. Giving yourself love. Now, nurses, we don't love ourselves enough. We love other people a lot, right? So give yourself some love. Now, how do you do that? You're going to hug yourself. Well, actually, let me back that up. It depends on where you work. You can hug other people, right? But you need to ask, because you can't just go like this. Oh, yeah. I know Laura, luckily. Laura's like, all right, I'll give you a hug. All right. But Laura's like, but the hug, you have to ask other people, right? Now, a hug helps to increase your endorphins, helps to reduce your stress, but not everybody's a hugger at where you work. So people might be like, dude, what? No, this is a boundary. This is an issue. No, you keep your space. It depends on where you work. How can you do it without, maybe not any, okay, maybe people around you, they aren't huggers. Hug yourself. It's the same effect. So you're gonna go like this. So everybody go like this. So you're gonna give yourself a wee squeeze. Give yourself a wee squeeze. Now while you're doing it, evidence, so research has shown positive self-talk. Now you can't, now don't do it outside, do it inside. You're gonna refer to yourself in the third person. That's why I say do it inside, because if I walk around going, Amanda Faye, you're all right. People will be like, is she okay?
Not sure.
Yeah, you're all right. So you're gonna talk to yourself in the third person. Third person self-talk helps with emotional regulation. So you're gonna not only talk to yourself in the third person, but you're gonna give yourself a hug. So give yourself a hug. And you're gonna tell yourself you love you. Right? How? Because a lot of times we look at ourselves in the mirror and we go, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. Right? How many people, it's gonna be the opposite. You're gonna be like, dude, you rock. You rock. So you're gonna give yourself a hug and you're gonna say, you're gonna use your own name, don't use mine, although I will appreciate that. You're gonna say, I'm just doing this as a demonstration. You're gonna go, Amanda Faye, I love you. You're gonna use your own name because my name's Amanda Faye. So you're gonna go, so on the count of three, everybody give a good hug. Give yourself a hug. Like a nice squeeze where you can feel it. And then you're gonna say, on the count of three, you're gonna say your name that you love you. So 1, 2, 3. Amanda Faye, I love you.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Take all these strategies. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other.
Thank you.
Right?